Good morning. All right. Thanks, John. I think my main job at Demo when we launched was to get coffee for the founders. This is really exciting. When we launched LiquidPlanner, we were working out of a little tiny 2-room office in Bellevue on top of Northwest Marble, which is by the gun range and the dump. So it was some really awesome office space. And I've had, I think, what is a pretty rare opportunity, which is to see a company go from an idea on a piece of paper to an actual business, which is pretty cool. I'll tell you a little bit about my history at LiquidPlanner. I joined as a marketing contractor when the founders were just getting started. And they had this idea to do something new with project management. So they hired me to come on board and help just with some early marketing tasks. And that was 9 years ago, almost, over 9 years ago. And since then, I've done pretty much every job at the company. So I started in marketing, I did sales, I did customer support, I did product management, finance, operations, and I became CEO 3 years ago. And prior to that, I was doing project management at Amazon and at Google and at Sony PlayStation. So I kind of did the big company thing and then went startup and haven't really looked back since. If you're not familiar with LiquidPlanner, we make dynamic project management software. So we sell to technology teams. And our goal is really to help people do the right work at the right time. And we are based on the idea that things in business are constantly changing and shifting. And teams really need to keep up and focus on what's important for them to do at any given time. So just to kind of size the company for you, we're about 65 people. We have about 1,800 customers all over the world. We sell to mid-market teams, so 50 to 500 million in revenue approximately. And over 9 years, we've raised about $13.5 million. So my presentation is all about running a lean startup. And I think that term is kind of subjective. So if you are just getting started, raising $13.5 million may not seem very lean to you. But for us in our market, we're going up against people that have raised nearly $100 million. So lean is a mindset. It's a lifestyle. It's kind of in our DNA. And really, it's about balancing the goal of high growth with capital efficiency and a sustainable business model. So that's what I want to talk about today. And to do so, I'm going to refer back to something that one of our investors said to me a long time ago, which is business is a 4-letter word. And if you ever visit LiquidPlanner, you will probably hear me use one or more 4-letter words in conversation. I'm going to try to keep them clean today. So we'll start with the word will. Most of the entrepreneurs I know that are successful have 2 very dominant traits. One is that they're super competitive. Another is that they're optimists. You know, they're glass half full people. I don't think they would get out of bed and do what they do every morning if they didn't believe that getting the gold, ending up on the podium in the winner's circle, was within reach. And so when competitiveness and optimism get together, maybe they have a baby and the baby's named Will. The thing that I've learned over the years is that this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So as a leader, it's important to pace yourself, to find a way to sustain that will, that belief over time, not for 200 meters, not for 1,600 meters, but for 26 miles. And it's an effort. And even more important than maintaining that for yourself is infecting your team with it. You have to make them believe. You have to inspire them to do the training, to put in the work, to get up every day and go through the exercises that it takes to get the gold medal. So bring them along with you. I think as a leader, you're always kind of looking out ahead. You're looking at the next mile or the next 5 miles. And people aren't necessarily there with you. So you have to look back and communicate your vision and what you see to the people that are around you. So bring them along. And don't burn out. Pace yourself. Figure out what you need to do personally to be able to maintain that sense of will and optimism as you move forward tomorrow, next week, the week after. And there's a saying that as a CEO, you can't have a bad day. So try to smile and make yourself feel happy, even when the world is falling apart around you sometimes. You guys know what FOMO is, right? UrbanDictionary.com. FOMO is fear of missing out. And I think optimism kind of plays into FOMO. I experienced some severe FOMO when I went out to raise our Series B round of financing in 2014. And I'd never raised money before. And I did probably what many of you do when you're taking on a new challenge, which is read, talk to people, look around, figure out what you're supposed to be doing. And I read the same publications that you do, GeekWire, TechCrunch, VentureBeat. And I read about, you still read this today. You read about these companies raising massive, massive rounds at massive valuations. And they're unicorns. And I'm looking at our business and I'm like, what am I doing wrong? What am I missing? I'm not getting this. Because we weren't in that place. We were trying to raise 5 to 10 million, and it's hard and brutal. And it took me a while to do the thing which has now become, I think, part of how I run the business, which is to stop comparing our journey to everybody else, to our competitors, to other people in the community, to people I read about online. Comparison is the root of all unhappiness. You kind of have to put a blinder on to what other people are doing and look at your business, your market dynamics, your product, how much capital you have, how much capital you need, what a successful outcome looks like for you, for your team, for your investors, and make decisions about capitalizing your business with those things in mind, not with what everybody else is doing. Because if you wind up, let's say, raising money at a crazy valuation that doesn't map to reality, that comes with its own set of problems. I think at the end of the day, we ask ourselves, not how much can we raise, but how little do we need to raise? And we keep control of the business as much as possible. Your competitors are going to do what they're going to do, but you have to run your own race. There's always going to be somebody who can outspend you. So think about how you can outwit them. That leads to my next 4-letter word, which is Diff. When we entered the project management market, we had this idea that the problem could be solved in a different way. And the market was old and crowded and stagnant, and we were right in Microsoft Project's backyard. And people were like, this is a solved problem. You guys should maybe go do something else. And we said, no, well, maybe not totally solved yet. And we started out, when we launched, with kind of one thing that made us different. And it seems like just this tiny little thing, which is when you estimate projects, instead of just saying a project is going to take 30 days, what if you expressed it as best case, worst case? What if instead of 30 days, it was 25 to 35 days? Isn't that more like reality? Isn't there uncertainty in the work that we do? And so that was the one thing. And we had none of the other features that our competitors had. We had no collaboration, we had no analytics, we had no dashboards, we had nothing. But best case, worst case estimation. And we found this group of people that they were oddly excited about best case, worst case estimation. And they were willing to pay money to get that feature, even though we didn't have other stuff that they needed. And what I've learned over the years is that if you can find that thing that you do that no one else does, that someone will pay for, double down on it. Build around that. Have that be the focus of your efforts. And develop that market. So that's what we did. We made a ton of mistakes along the way. It took forever. It seemed like it took forever. We had to spend a year at one point re-architecting the entire product from the ground up. We shipped no features for a year. And everybody was like, oh my God, please let this end. But we stuck with it. And now, that is the thing that fuels our business and allows us to grow with less capital than our competitors because we're different. Once you have that different thing, once you find people to pay for it, you got to start thinking about the math. And this, for me, really applies to the way we approach our business model. Your business model is not stagnant. It's a living thing. It is constantly changing. And your job as a leader and the job of the people around you is to just poke at it, to study it, to calculate different aspects of the business, the knobs and dials that you can turn to make an impact in your growth trajectory. It's really about understanding the unit economics of your business. And so we are constantly looking at what does it cost us to acquire a customer? How long will that customer stay with us? What revenue will we get from that customer? How long does it take us to recoup that revenue? And those things are always changing. Now we're 9 years into the business, and everything that we do today is based on what we call the reverse funnel. So the reverse funnel is now what feeds our financial projections and what gives us confidence in our operating plans. So we're looking at how many leads do we get in? How many of those will we convert to appointments? How many of our appointments will we convert to opportunities? How many opportunities will we convert to customers? And we know all of the assumptions about that funnel. We publicize them, we talk about them, we validate them, and then we adjust. So I think as you are starting to actually make money, we talk about, with revenue, predictability is the spice of life. We want to always know what is coming down the pike in terms of revenue, and also know how we can best impact that. The other thing we strive for is to have profitability checkpoints along the way. So in 2012, the company was profitable, and it was after that that we decided to take additional capital to grow the business, because we had proven to ourselves that we had a business model that would work, that could scale, and that we could, really fuel with more funding. We have since added a lot of different capabilities to the business, changed the product, and we're now striving to get back to cash flow positive, which is like right on the horizon, so we're getting really close. And when we get to that point again, we can say, okay, now that we've grown the surface area of the balloon, can we justify investing more? So that's how we approach it. This is hard stuff, right? Every day there are millions of things that you should be doing, could be doing, ways you could impact the business, people you could talk to, things you can learn. And because of that, really one of the things that you have to get good at is figuring out what to say no to. Conventional wisdom says that, by the 80-20 rule, the 80-20 rule, 20% of your effort will yield 80% of your results. So figuring out what to kick to the curb can be make or break for you and your business. One of the guiding principles that we use in figuring out what to say no to is things that increase the surface area of the business. So when you are looking at an opportunity that is going to have to be staffed, maintained, invested in, measured, monitored, all of these things, in addition to what you're already doing, understand the risk that comes with it. Really, the risk is opportunity cost. Because if you take on something brand new that you have to then maintain, you're taking time away from activities that are right in your wheelhouse, that are going after your core customer. I'll give you an example from our business. So we're a SaaS company. We host everything for our customers. And over the years, we've had probably 100 customers who say, we really like what you do, but we need to host it. It needs to be behind our firewall. And of course, the customers are like great, Disney, the Department of Defense, logos you want. These are companies with big pocketbooks, and they could have a big impact on your top line. And saying no to those kinds of opportunities is excruciating. But we know if we did, we'd be fundamentally changing our offering, and it probably wouldn't be very good for the bottom line. And it would take us away from investing in what is our core business. And so we did say no. And in fact, it's really a credit to some of the people on our team, because I was maybe like, maybe we should. Maybe we should. We should talk about it. Let's talk about it. And I think our VP of engineering has been the one to be like, don't do it. Hold your ground. We can't take this on. It's too much. We have this team. We have these resources. Stay focused. So the lesson for me has been stick to your knitting. And if you do that, if times get lean, if there's an economic winter, you probably will still be able to sleep at night. Now I'm going to contradict myself. One of the things that I think has been the most meaningful and most beneficial for me in my journey as an entrepreneur is the idea of giving back. As startup people, we can be very singularly focused. And in fact, our investors and other people around us will be like, don't get distracted. Don't pick your head up. Like, just stay doing what you're doing. But as humans, we're multifaceted. And so I encourage people to look at ways to give back to organizations that are not your business, to do something for people that are not your employees, to become civically engaged, to volunteer, to speak. Find something that is not just work. And what you get from that is visibility for your company. You get recruiting benefit because people know you. You build a network of people in the community that create opportunities, them for you and you for them. And you strengthen the ecosystem. I think that the karma bus drives in circles. So if you can carve out a little time to do something for someone else, you won't regret it. This is the LiquidPlanner team. This is Halloween this past year. I'm like maniacally obsessed with making people dress up for Halloween. It drives everyone crazy. So if you ever want to work at our company, consider yourself warned. This picture for me is about the fact that as a leader, it's not really about you. It's about them. I'm on the board of an organization called Ada Developers Academy. And I went to a meeting the other day, and one of the students described the women in her cohort as being like Navy SEALs. She said, these are people that will link arms and sit in the cold water with you. And I got chills then, thinking about that metaphor. I got chills now, because it is so true. You have to bring people into your business that will go through the hardest times with you. And as a leader, the most leverage you can get is in spending time with your team. Develop them, invest in them, nurture them, communicate with them, over-communicate with them, and build a family and a culture of people that will sit in the cold water with you, because the water at times will be very cold. This is bacon. I wanted to work bacon in somehow. I'm going to wrap with just a question that I ask myself a lot. Every morning, we have the power to determine what we do with our time, right? It's the most power we have. What are you going to get up every single day and do with the time that you have? And I ask myself, if the equity that I have in LiquidPlanner were worth nothing, more than the piece of paper it's printed on, would I still do what I do? Would I still come to work every day? And I've been asking myself that for 9 years, and people are like, God, you've been at a startup for 9 years? Why? And I'm still learning, and I still love what I do. I still love my team, and I still love my customers. And so I hope as you go out and begin or continue your journey as an entrepreneur, that you can answer the same thing. So thanks so much for your time.
Awesome. Thanks, Liz. That's awesome.